What up, people?
So,
Check it out, my people.
so where should we start?
Hey, how is it going with you guys? What the fuck you guys are doing? You guys live in the meta world. Absolutely. It's so funny to see. Like, then I have sometimes I'm like, I have different, like, I think there's no words, like it's just like, I'm like, what is that? And you guys are
Yeah.
like in a meta world. Like,
Meta world. Okay. I'll
it's
feel
like it's
so...
like this it's like the screen is broken and then you are like, what?
This glitch is just like spitting out. Yeah, I don't know what to say. Like, we started like last month, and well, if you're watching on this YouTube channel, probably you saw like the viewer, you have seen videos, but we've been playing with Hydra, of course, and then we started projection, and we did photogrammetry and plotter, and like cutting paper with like this vector SVG files. And then we started what's next? We put some laser at some point. We have two projectors, DMX lights, which is live code, like we live code DMX lights. And we just started like hanging stuff with laser cut objects and projecting on it. And now today we built like sensors into this laser cut cursors. So now we can
Which sensors did you put in there? What
like a
which sensors did
9
you put?
DOF like accelerometer. And
Accelerometer.
Yeah.
For what? So where is attached that?
To the cursor. Well, that sounds really ridiculous. Like
The cursor?
It's like a laser cut, like a computer like cursor, but it's like a laser cut. Just the
So
shape of the cursor.
You put
And
a sensor on the thing that is plotting.
No. It's just the object, just a cut, like laser cut object. And I don't know if I can show you the photo. I think I just sent you this, but these ones.
I thought it was a laser cut something.
This is laser cut.
I thought they were.
And then
so you put in these arrows. Now I understand. You
yeah,
laser
the
cut
cursor.
the arrows.
Yeah.
The arrows cursor.
So the idea is like we're gonna hang them, and it has a sensor, so we can like just play with it, and it's attached to sound or lights or whatever with OSC messages.
So the how actually wait. So the cursor then is reactive. Like it's really doing something. If you move the cursor, something happens. Like with a cursor. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then wait, how actually you guys are sending OSC so are you sending OSC like on the web?
No, it's just like wired to Arduino, and Arduino is connected to the computer with USB, and there's Node.js that's receiving accelerometer values and then process it with FFT, Fourier transform. So it kind of, separates signals that are like fast moving or slow moving. And then that's sent to tidal cycles with OSC to just change the sound.
But that's the question, because then it's still, because the way how I work is just, I'm having, so I have Capture, and then Capture uses, it sends some proprietary data via Unity, some Unity plugin in live capture, in Capture, and then in Unity in another computer, in the same network, um, I receive that and then I send that to the same computer in Touch Designer via OSC. But all of this is a part of the capture is just OSC in the same network. That's what I would, because normally, yeah, I mean, I know that it's difficult to, when you want to send OSC through the web, is open sound control through, because wait,
like internet,
you're using title, yeah, internet, like with title cycles, like you guys, you're using the
no,
browser.
Tidal Cycles is no, it's a super collider. It's local. It's just an application.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, so it's the same.
Okay.
That's what
No,
you're
I
doing,
thought it
more or
was
less.
browse based. Yeah.
Yeah,
I thought it was
but
browse based.
but I think I would do that too. Like send it to the web, and then people can see it on the browser with.
But I think, but because
WebSockets.
from what I understand, I think if you try to do that process, then you need to use WebSockets.
Yeah, you have to convert
because
it
of
to
the
WebSockets.
constant. Yeah, you have to convert it to. You need to keep them open, because if I mean, for other people that are seeing, like in the web, on the web, you as a client, you can have just one request, one answer, and so yeah, OSC is constantly sending different values. So you need to have something like a WebSocket, which is you subscribe to the WebSocket, that is a protocol that allows to receive more than one message at the time.
Yeah, and it's asynchronous.
Response also. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we'll do that too. Like, for example, like when we live code DMX slides, we do it on the browser.
Exactly.
And that's like sending WebSocket to the server.
I was saying that because of the DMX, because that was one of the questions that you will find sometimes in the Discord channel from Hydra people. Then the about OSC because of DMX. I mean, DMX is so easy to work with, because basically with the light that Naoto has in the background is a DMX light.
I think this is like automated, but it is also DMX light.
Yeah. So it's a protocol that it's a very practical protocol for lighting, because if you work with pixel-based systems, then basically you can have, like a VJ can have a projection of I don't know, like a landscape with flowers and so. And then with DMX, you map the lamps as pixels, depends how big are your pixels, and then automatically the system will get, so you have the background as this landscape, right? And then
it's an image.
As an image, so as a BJ, let's say you have a background, and then what you do is in the whole space. So then my background there, I have a projection mapping, but then in this space where the people are dancing everywhere, that actually here also are some DMX, there will be lights, and what you can do is that these lights can be represented as pixels, one of the pixels of this background, and then what they will do is generate this atmosphere.
So it kind of bleeds out to this space. The image kind of spreads out.
Exactly. Yeah, but so it just generates, it's a simple way to generate an atmosphere. That's the word that I'm trying to find. So with whatever image that you're using, so like in BJ, very glitchy or complex images, but then automatically, because you select pixels from that image onto the whole space, even though there will be different colors, they will be coming from there. So that you will create an atmosphere.
Yeah.
And so
that's exactly the other
rich.
Yeah. Actually, the other team right next to us is doing the same, like similar technique. So they have the projection on the screen, and they have like light LED strips around it. And I think that's sampling the image for the projection, so it has kind of similar colors on the side.
Yeah. 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 And it's so simple to. Are you using like? Do you use ArtNet or
Um,
DMX?
I don't know about the specifics. So we just have the USB to DMX, like Intec.
Yeah. Because for instance, like in the installation that we did with seats, that it was this big installation in a big space. So when you need to rig a big space, so rather than having all these cables constantly, then what you do is then you have like the ArtNet allows you to have a wireless connection with the system.
I see.
Yeah, so it's still they need to be wired. You need to rig them, but they don't need one computer to be plugged. They have this ArtNet hub that it will be as soon as you are in the same network, it will be on, and then you can just
You
move
can control
around and then
everything.
exactly wireless.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, and also what
Yeah.
people uses now is that they have this. That this is very you have this. So instead of connect the DMX daisy chaining, I think it's called, when you connect one with the next one and the next one, the next one. People use it wireless transmitters, but each of those things are like 10 euros.
Oh, okay.
So they're quite expensive. But yeah, so I think that's really in concerts and stuff like that, people use instead of cables is wireless. So if you don't really, if your problem is not the budget, which is, let's say, the case of a concert, it's just wireless, and it's just yeah, you don't have the problem of the cable thing, and it's just such a, it's just so powerful.
Yeah. Well, it's getting really technical, but I would add another technical thing that actually it's funny that we're doing what you said about the making an atmosphere. We're doing the opposite, because there's one web page, like collaborative JavaScript page, like blog, that Flor and I connect on the same page, and then we code. And now the DMX control and Hydra is in the same page. And you can, in Hydra, you can use these arrays to switch between numbers.
Yeah.
Like you can, like array, like, this bracket, and then you have like different numbers, and it will just like make a sequencer of these values. And
yeah.
So what we did is Hydra has, let's say, like a master fader that switches on and off, and DMX lights also have that, but it's inverted. So the projection goes sometimes off, and that's when the light comes in, and we can like control everything.
But the light is mapped to Hydra's pixel.
No, it's just JavaScript that you can change numbers.
So you're not. So question: are you guys mapping? I thought you guys were mapping Hydra sketches light in your use. Are you doing that?
I just made a new like some functions to change color of the light, just like Hydra.
Okay.
So it's like completely separate, but everything is in JavaScript.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Of course. Like for somebody like me, like I'm used to work, and then you have the software who will do this thing. So you put whatever image that you put that, and then just you select, depending of the feature that you have, it will give you some amount of pixels, and then just you. So that's what the way how I imagine that you have Hydra. That's what I was like thinking. How can you have this web-based, so this internet thing, this browser image, and then use the pixels to output something locally, because it's an analog signal that it goes.
Hardware.
It's not internet. It's a hardware. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot of like technical complexity, but when we perform, it's all on the browser. Like it's wired somewhere. Because from the browser, you can send WebSocket to your own computer. So if you have like Node.js program running on your computer, you can send commands from your browser to it. And then Node.js is running on your computer. So you can do anything with the hardware, whatever you want from Node.js. So if you send WebSocket from the browser to say, okay, light on, light off, Node.js will listen to it, and Node.js can trigger that, which I built with the Node.js.
Oh man, I want to see that. Yeah. I want to see that. Yeah.
It's not too complicated, but it's it's like something that I think that's something interesting.
It's a bit tricky. It's a bit tricky.
It's like tooling, like to make tools that we can use it for performance.
Because it's just what I'm trying to figure is just I stay in my head with this, like it's trying to see like what is the pipeline, I'm trying to see like what is the pipeline, where is going. But wait, like one thing, and then we just close that part, is that so when you guys are performing in Flock, it's called, that's web-based, right? You're using the same URL, right? So then you're using just Hydra normally, I mean, with the internet, right?
Yeah.
And then that's what you're saying, when you're not using Hydra, then you will run the script to put the lights in your, physically in your space. Wait, let me wait. So when you're running Hydra, you're projecting, that's first thing, right? When you're using Hydra and you're sitting there, you're projecting with these two projectors, right? But then if you're not using Hydra, then you start using the DMX lights on you.
Well, we are using Hydra, but we just like virtually turn off. You just say, for example, if you say color 000, then it's just blank.
Yeah.
So that's how we turn it off. So it's still running, but you just make project black color.
Yeah. So the projection is just like, you're projecting black. And then at that moment, the lights are on you guys.
Yeah.
But then the lights are not mapped.
Lights are not mapped because lights, we just I want this color for light.
But you took that, but you mapped, like, did you map with some software, like, or did you map the projection?
For the projection, not the light.
Yeah.
For the projection, like, I have this tool for. I made this program with open frameworks like ages ago that projects like lines, like patterns, and then scan the space. And you have like a map, like a mask of the space. Like you could generate it automatically. And we just use it as a mask.
Yeah. This is so, I think I'm doing the question that you will have normally, like, this is the kind of thing that people will ask you when you're working with technology.
Exactly.
Like what
exactly like people asking that question.
Yeah. What is the software that you're using? Which tool are you using?
But I'm already like so confused because, like, as you can see, like I'm using open frameworks, I'm using processing, I'm using Node.js for OSC and DMX, and also hosting web, and of course browser with Hydra and Flock, and like just like I have to like constantly go back and forth. And now I was doing Arduino and what else? Like, today I spend most of the time just soldering.
Oh, Joe Kaimo is so good at soldering. That guy is really good at soldering. I did my master's in soldering with him. She's really, really good at doing that. Okay. How is it the collaboration with Flor?
I think we're still like, I mean, last month for the first weeks, like we were kind of figuring out. But I think now it's getting more fluid. Like I know what's my strength, and I know her. Like she knows her strengths, and like also, just to have not to stress too much about who's doing what. I mean, it's also like when I work with you, because we have different skill sets. So just not to be, stressed that you're doing less or more. I think that's kind of the always tricky thing.
But I think I don't know how it will do. That's interesting to see because, for instance, like this is something that already I think we passed a long time ago, no? I think, or like how much are you doing? How much am I doing? Like the being worried of, like for instance, like you have more knowledge with technology than myself. So I remember at the big time ago, I was struggling with that. I think it seems really far in the past.
Yeah, I mean it's also different, I think. Also, like we are kind of, I mean, with floor, it's like we are literally like building up the space. Well, demolishing and building up, but we have something physically. And with you, it was like always spontaneous. I mean, even at path, like like we were trying things like spontaneously.
So how long did you guys spend like in so how long will go a session of what you're doing,
like
your sessions?
We don't set time, so like more or less like we start building stuff during the day, and sometime like maybe at 4 or 5 if we have something, we try to perform with it. And normally like 30 minutes, 40 minutes, maybe 1 hour. And at first we were trying, like actually the first few sessions were like purely with Flock. So we just have image on the screen and we're just screen recording it. And then we started projection and then lights. So it's more physical space we're using. And that became more interesting because like last few times, like we started to play with objects and like not coding so much, like the practice.
Yeah.
Which becomes way more interesting if we stop.
Yeah. It seems more that you guys found something where you can stay there for a while.
Yeah, and it feels more comfortable with that.
Yeah, because there is just so much that you can do with technical stuff, and it's also the same for dance. Like we speak about this like a few times. Like in dance technique also it happens the same. Like even if you're the best dancer or hip-hopper, like if you just like do your tricks, you have just such a certain amount of tricks. After that, if you're not building something that is not somehow affective or sensitive, dramatic, I guess, somehow, you won't have you won't last. Because I think because I think it's not about like effect. So you're not trying to have effect on people. That's what the magician will do. That's the trick. But I think what you want to go is towards affect. So with the affection, you want to really move the people.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to say like it's also like related to the message I sent you today, that I started to think like I'm building, like these sensors, and we're doing projection and all these things, but like DMX lights, but it's not new, everyone's doing it
No,
like a lot.
no.
And why is it interesting? I think it's because we constantly go back to light coding. And like I said, light coding lights, or like these sensors are attached to light coding, like sound, for example. And that's something new. And that's where it becomes more complex. And I don't know how it connects to affection, but maybe it's just make it softer in some way. I don't know. I don't know if it's clear, but
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I understand what you're trying to say. Like, yeah, I mean, yeah, this is about care. You remember what Daniela was saying there when she gave us this feedback. This is about actually how you show care for the situation that you are in. So in the case that you guys are there, then like you're taking care of the space, like, and you see like you're working. So it's a similar yet different of practice of what we do in terms of like I don't know what you guys are doing, but I know you're busy, like you're taking care, like you're doing something. You're doing something. So yeah.
true. Yeah, that makes sense. Like,
You think you're affecting the conditions of how things happen, and therefore also how I as an audience can, or viewer, see that. I'm wondering now how would be that like in live. That thing that should be very interesting to see live.
yeah, I mean, you have to come
It's a
here.
show. Yeah, but I think it's definitely something like as you said, like I think what it makes it cool is this. So you have this trend of audiovisual performances. By the way, there is a something happening also that I will tell you after. I forgot to say
Okay.
it in behind
Okay.
before we start the chat. Um, so you have this thing of audiovisual performances, um, which very often becomes just somebody in front very flat with some images, right? Um, so as you said, I think what is interesting is like, although what you have the live coding is there very dominant, or is a very important element, you have all the materiality and all the not yeah how to, maybe you have, yeah, it feels close to a performance than an audiovisual performance.
Yeah.
It feels more close to a performance. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I think. Sorry, like I close with this. Like that's what I'm thinking, that I would like to see you guys and then play also with the floor and see, because I think this is like naturally kind of overlapping what we do.
Yeah.
So if it is just naturally, when I see some videos also what Floor is doing, like the thing is like we have the movement, like the approach or the way how we met was through movement, right?
Right.
And this is something that is a constant in us. But there was something that, like, I don't know, I saw a video like what you guys did, and Flor was doing something super sensual. Like it was like something like I don't know what she was doing, but it felt like, looked like so sensual or so uh performatic. Also, so it was like very, yeah, performative. It looks very performative what you guys are doing. Sorry.
Thanks.
Sorry, like just did you still know what you were saying, or you forgot?
No, I mean, it's just to rephrase. Like, I just start to think that audiovisual performance, or like live coding, with just like with projection and sound, is like it's really brutal, right? It's nothing about the space. Like you just like put the color, put the sound, and just you make something. But it's also, as you said, it's not caring about the space, which I never thought about that way. But
I think the best example of that is, maybe we should show that. Like, is this guy Ryoku, the guy who was there? This guy.
Wait, you always mess up name. Kurokawa. I forgot his first name.
Maybe try to find it and show it, because so this guy really working the audio visual thing, and he's a monster in the way how he, like, his things are so. Oh, I mean, I really like it. I like aesthetically. I think
I like it too.
But I think it's the clear example of what you're trying to say. It's so aggressive.
Yeah. I don't know where I can find it. I'm not used to Zoom anymore. Share screen. I just have to put the part. Let's just go to his website. Yeah, I mean, this explains all.
But do you have some like a video of him? Because like it's also, so this audio visual performances, they involve like audio visual thing, right? So the audio is there also.
Maybe this one.
Wow, yeah, this is.
Is there sound?
I think so.
Maybe I forgot to share the sound.
I don't.
But like this. Yeah, I don't want to share it again. So, maybe I just put the link or something so people can watch it later. But yeah, lasers.
Yep.
And lines. I mean, also like who's that? The famous guy, famous artist, Ryoji Ikeda. He's also very famous with black and white lines, sine waves, kind of stuff.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, this is going to what we just speaking. Like, I mean, I think what is cool from what you guys are doing is that.
Yeah, it's very different.
But at the same time, then it's like, then you will have problems, like, because then it's not, it's just goes. I think it could easily go in a similar aspect to what happened with our practice. Then it doesn't respond to an ecology of a market, like you have public to see this that just we saw, there is audience for that.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I have to be careful with wording, but I think that's also something maybe Floor might, have to struggle, because I know why she's good, and that's like we're working together, but also, like people might not understand why she's good or how good she is, because it's something doesn't fit to anything.
Yeah.
And well, we'll see, but I don't know. In that case,
great. I think it's great. Like, and to be honest, like the time that I have been here, like in Motion Bank, I feel like it has been so good, and because it also forces me to be more concrete and to basically like to be forced to be practical in different ways, in order to share meta ideas or things that I will understand, or that you why understand. Yeah. I have been using a lot lately there was this book called Choreographic Figures. deviations from the line. So it's something that Florian suggested to me. And then, so what is interesting from the book is that it's basically, it's like a long project. I think it's like 3 or more than 3 years project between people from different practices. One of them is like somebody that from PAF that I know, Christine. She was a dancer for a long time of Alan Platel and Ballet de la Baie. And basically, so it goes in a really depth, like a really maybe really in-depth art research. So like really in this meta world, really deep into their own constraints and creating their own world. But then they for instance, like they talk about annotating or something. There is this, one of the person is somebody, I think her name is Emma de Kruk, and I think she's known in the graphic world for doing like UX design or something. So basically, I think the whole thing goes like that. It's about practices,
right?
So then you have practices of attention, notation, conversation, and witnessing. And then you have figures, and each figure somehow represents like movement or approach to movement, how the actions start to rise. So I think the first thing is about clearing and emptying out somehow, is, like to get into the space or something like that, and just clearing out spiral momentum. I guess after you clear, then you spiral and get momentum. Temporarily closing, I guess, speaks for it itself, like then you close. Yeah, and another things. So what I found interesting from this is that because they have the drawing constantly, they have the drawing in their practice, and then I'm working with drawing on the BR. I can make the translation in my head, like how to put it into something that is practical. Because their drawings are like, yeah, I cannot use these things, This is part of a choreographic practice, so it goes really deep into. I think this is close of what you guys are doing, like, because these people work with materials. And you guys are working a lot now with materials. So it's how can you transfer like gesture and like, wait, let's share. I will share something that like it was part of what I wrote today, but I think it's practical for public speaking. I think this idea of state and gesture is something that is coming often, I see, and what I'm doing and other things around me. So then the Oxford Dictionary defines that state is a particular condition that someone or something is in as a specific time, or a physical condition as regard internal or molecular form or structure, or an agitated or anxious condition, right? Or I love this one, a dirty or untidy condition.
Okay.
And then it defines gesture as a movement of part of the body, especially a hand or the head, that express an idea or meaning, an action performed to convey a feeling or intention. So one can think somehow the gesture is close to the art domain, and then the state somehow will be close to the tech domain. and something was super cool is to see, like, I cannot share right now, but it is that there's some graphics that shows that actually the word state is being used drastically less from 2019, like really down. And it happens the opposite with the gesture. Gesture from 2019, it goes really high in use. And I thought that was very interesting to see how is this use of these words are now being more, like, for instance, I'm used to, like, gesture somehow it's something that you hear very often in performing arts, because gesture is close to, is a verb, it's an action, it's close to, it's something that happens, it's a verb. But the state is more close to the conditions of something in a certain moment. So it's not a verb.
I see. But it's interesting because I didn't read it. I just read the first bullet point of the PDF you sent me that Florian, is it Florian wrote? Notes on
Yeah, that's
annotation.
super interesting.
Yeah, because the first thing was that we think we are recording image and sound when we are when we are really recording time. So I thought it's the opposite, but wait. Yeah, because he says we are recording image and sound, but in fact, we are recording time. Is that what he's trying to say? Okay.
Yeah. I didn't finish the also, but I thought it was also super interesting. So what I'm trying to think to share here is that this week I start, as I say, to introduce noise in what I'm doing. And it happens just naturally. I think I didn't finish because, so I have this BR thing, and in the BR, if I'm not here, if I look somewhere else, I don't have my reference. So I need to be dancing like this or something. So then I thought, okay, I will just, I create instances of my model, and then I put it around me. Then if I move anywhere in the space, then I have some visual reference, then I'm free and then can dance. Then I went farther with this, and then I put also instances above and under, and then I remove the floor that I have. And that was so cool, man. That was like, because then I could use the floor again. That's something that I like to do as dancer, like to use the floor. And before that, I could not use that. And something that was very cool, and it just happened by chance, is that the instance, so it's like somehow like aesthetically things are coming in, but just in as a consequence of the function that I'm searching for. So what I put different instances of my body in different places, and then I'm just doing my stuff, and at some point I realized, wait, but this looks way different here than there, because the position is different. So it just looks, all the patterns of my same triangle look so completely different.
But are they like all facing the same direction?
All of them are facing the same direction. Yeah, all of them are the same instance. Yeah.
So like they're like copied as like a grid.
Yeah, exactly. Just using my, as a grid, exactly. I literally am using a grid positions to instance the other, and then I start at my level and through 100 degrees, and then I put in the Y position above and the Y position under me.
I see.
But so I was saying that because of what? So so for instance, because I think I feel so that I start like disturbing, and we talk about, I think this was the last time we talked in the chat, was like that I want to disturb, like, or to introduce some glitch or noise in the work, but not yet back then. But I think like now, this was kind of, it happens just naturally. This already came, and I thought, okay. And then I start just being more relaxed with not only that, but also the way how I take my wait. like the way how I work with this, like I have all this setup, like I have like a big setup here, like it's a big studio. So it's like I start thinking that how I can be close to actually what we do at practice. So it seems to me that the borders between what I'm doing and what the computer is doing is getting more loose. And that's I think is so then I come close to a place that I'm more familiar with. That's the place that basically we developed together. So it's getting in that direction because I have somewhat a reliable system now.
I see.
And I spend a lot of time in every. I mean, it's an ongoing process. Like there are always constantly files that have to be moved and all, but it's just part of the process. So, but anyway, I have a reliable system. So because of that, then I can't disturb it. Only because of that.
Yeah. But this is interesting. Like I think we are kind of going to the same direction in a way, because I also have that here, that we build stuff, like I said, we do projection and lights and stuff, but it's not that well, like maybe during daytime I try to make things work, calibrate stuff, and the projection is there, lights are controlled. But then if we start to perform as a session, it doesn't matter anymore, if it's not working, or if you move stuff, projection is off, but it doesn't matter. And then, but that's like the practice that it becomes really interesting, and we can do it because we know that it's not gonna completely fail, or like completely fail in terms of the technical sense. I mean, the computer won't catch fire or anything, so even if the projection is off, it's not the end of the world, and it can be interesting too.
Yeah.
And glitches, like it can be, I don't know what your system is like, but if the tracking gets lost, it can be also interesting, right? Unless it completely stops.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't really thinking of that. What I'm thinking, I think what to do for the next week is, so like already I'm like this week I'm starting my sessions, like from the morning I put on everything. So before I was just taking some time, like from 9 to 10 every day for 4 weeks. I was coming and just being with lights off and just moving, taking time for me. And then after that, I would start doing things. But this week, I already start just come here and put it on and start. Yeah, it's a similar process than the one going with you in different ways. For instance, but just you learn in the process, like no, like but I think so. Like yesterday, for instance, I thought I want to do like to record a session by 10. There's a lot that I need to I need to yeah, I need to 20 minutes to make sure that I'm ready to record. So I was pushing a bit too much for being so early. So I could not expect that I will have an effective or a sincere, or that my body will be in this position to entangle with the machine if my body doesn't have the fucking time to wake up, because already I'm putting it a stress to if what I was doing for 1 month is just every day taking 1 hour for myself, and my body understood that, and then all of a sudden I'm saying like, okay, we have 20 minutes to make everything ready, and then after that I should be ready to deliver. It's just when I put the VR goggles on, I'm like, what do you want? For me, it's like the body and there's just there's no warm up between the medium and the body. It's just It's too much.
I think, I don't know if it's related to what you said, but what I'm trying to do is like to make things that are like, well, sounds different, but like material, or like I was thinking about something more like air or water. I'm not saying that I want to recreate nature or something, but like, you know, if this tracking system working, then it should be just there. Like it's not that technician has to turn it on and then someone has to look at it, like fix it every single time to make it working. But it's just, you know, turn it on, and VR system or tracking system or DMX lights, it just should be like working. It doesn't have to be completely functional, but somehow it does its own thing by itself for some amount of time. Not like every 10 minutes it fails and you have to go back to turn it on again, but somehow it does something. So we can create a playground with all these elements, and
So
we don't have to use them.
what you're saying is like somewhat, then still, then you need to trust somewhat that your system will be reliable. Somewhat.
Yeah, I think that's the tricky part, that it's reliable in a sense that it can be, let's say, queer reliable. It's not like reliable that it's like perfect, straight, rigid.
Yeah.
If there's like something fails, then it will turn on again, kind of reliable, but it has to be at least like doing something, you know, like always I come back to this idea that if something fails on the stage with this like technical thing, the show must go on. It must go on, right? Like if
Yeah, but
you can't say, okay, we started over.
no, but then it's like, because if the show is let's take for instance the example of what you guys when you were working in Belgium, in Antwerp, you guys were working in this project that was using motion capture. How is called the project?
Empty Mind.
Empty Mind. Yeah. If the streaming will have been lost for 20 minutes or for 10 minutes even, or if like yeah, if the internet will damage for 20 minutes, then it's a catastrophe. That's
Yeah.
it. There was no show. So
Yeah.
because that performance needed so much that constraint. So I think that's the word that I'm searching, I guess. Depending of what are your constraints, you can bet, or I mean, you can be in the position of losing something or not. So in the example that you were saying, if we are doing, let's say, a projection mapping or like motion tracking, dance piece with public, and then for some reason, I mean, I think this is a good example, that my hand is controlling something, right? But already you as technician, you know that you will give some control, but you won't give, you will take into account already as developer that, yeah, that the control is just, I mean, the margin of error is certain. So
Right.
you won't expect to work towards like something that is 100% exact, and I don't know, like no latency at all. Like you will take that already into the account. And
Right.
in the case that something get lost, then you know that you can afford to lose the system for a few seconds.
Yeah.
So I mean, say, I think going back could be interesting to speak from what you were saying about the queer. I think I like that, like reliable queer. Like if your system somehow is not, if there is not a clear statement of what the system is actually, what is the purpose of the system? For instance, if you're using lights to illuminate, right, a person, an object, and there is a clear intention that everybody understand, in you have a public, so we are talking here about communication, right? So you have a light, and the light is lighting a personage, a character. So the public will understand this message, like you want the people to see this character because maybe the character is gonna speak. So if the light is gone, then you have then it's a problem, because
Right.
the functionality of the light is to illuminate that character. Is not queer, it's very is defined.
Right. Very rigid. Rigid. Yeah.
Yeah. But in the other way around, I think if the light it illuminates, but maybe it's not the only one, but there are other ones. And so you as an audience don't completely understand what is, if it's not completely understandable what is the purpose of these lights, then it's fine if one of them fail. It doesn't matter. It doesn't change anything. It might be even, what I think is interesting, I think is close to the artistic composition, is like, then even you will start thinking that it's important. It just opens so many possibilities for the audience to read. If the light fails, if intentionally is actually wired in a certain way, that if it is actually becoming, it is giving agency for glitch to happen and for generative work, basically.
Generative work. Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah, because
I
it will
feel
be
like
the system that
glitch and generative sounds, well, it's not opposite, but generative always, to me, it sounds like something that is, already scripted, or like it follows some kind of rules to generate something. But what you're saying is more like giving room to generate something to, or more like emerge.
Well, no. I mean, from what I understand, like, I think generative also, it refers to systems that actually you don't know. You basically, then you use the system. You have an understanding of the system, and then you put it to work in certain ways to have different outcomes within. So a random system, basically.
Yeah, or like a black box, more like. Well, not a black box, but like it's like a factory.
What you were doing, like, is generative. What you were printing, that's generative. Because basically, just by the nature and so for other people also they're watching, is not necessarily about technology, because generative art has existence always. It's just how you put into place a system that allow a different outcome to happen.
Right. That we have no control in a way. I mean, as a
no.
Yeah.
But more or less you could expect somehow, like you could expect more or less. I mean, if you put a printer to print an image, although then you are, I guess, moving the offset, that it's not gonna come out a cheese, or it's not going to be a crepe or a beer coming out. It will be a paper with certain images. So it will be, you understand more or less how it will be. But then it's like, what I think is interesting, that I'm more interested than to talk, is then the glitch thing. How did we came into like this conversation of generative and glitch? Because in the generative, I don't see the error in the generative. You know what I mean?
No, that's why I was asking, because I think you meant something that is like, for example, if something fails, like light fail, then it gives room for people to understand in different ways, right? I mean, that is not expected, and it can become more rich. And that's, in a way, it's like a meta generative that creates that interpretation, but it's a different, I mean, I understand the point, but I wouldn't call it generative. And that's like why we started talking about this.
Yeah, okay. I completely agree with what you're saying.
But it's interesting perspective, but it's more like a glitch.
Yeah, if you use glitch actually to generate, yeah, it's true. It could be confusing in that sense. Like, is it the opposite true in
But
that
this
sense?
whole thing is also like a glitch in the meta level. Anyways, so yeah, I don't know. Tell me about the no, you said about the grid or like mirrored perspectives, and what's with noise? You're also like changing movements or within VR, or like what do you want to
Mm,
do with noise or glitch?
no, no. What I mean like that was more like conceptual, like just
Mm,
something that I also realized is that when I work with music, like when you work with music and then um I think they're like already, I think there's two different things when you're annotating, when you're trying to document something. It's like you have like, you can annotate from a singular point of view.
right.
So something that don't, meaning that something that not necessarily needs to be shared, but you understand what is it. So I create my system or annotate, and then then it's for me. That's so a singular way of annotate, or a more shareable, let's say, something that is in order to, for you to communicate the idea, uh, or to capture the moment, or to capture the state or something. um, so when I record in VR, for instance, and then if I don't use, wait, because I think I can use actually literally my text, because it just explained before better than. Yeah, so working with sound or without sound is quite different. When recording a VR session without sound, I feel attentive and aware of the space. I consider and test my spatial constraints. I will often check the virtual limits of my space, and in general just move more into the whole space. I feel vulnerable yet more explorative than a session with sound. This is more clear when the sound is less experimental and more rhythmical. With a song, I will get in the mood and just dance. Music is performative. When I see the recording, this is also true. As a witness audience, I can experience a similar state than when this was recorded. When the recording has no sound, I can feel quite dull and out of the context, yet neutral and less one-sided. So, for instance, if you think in the example where I shared this thing with you the last week, you can almost have like this gayness, this happiness on the doing,
Mm,
on the graphic. If you So I did also the same recording but without sound. So I did a second one after, and then it's awesome for an audience. As I said, like it's just dull. It's dull
I see.
because I'm not so into that. Um, Yet it's more neutral. So it doesn't mean that
Mm,
it's good or bad, but it's a different thing.
yeah, yeah. I see. Something to, I don't know what to say. Maybe we close and then next time we can expand on it.
Yes.
We will forget, but yeah, because sound is also something like with sensors and stuff. I'm
Because you guys are working with
interested,
sound also. Yeah. This is something like you guys also working with sound.
but like
This is
last time,
something
it was yeah. Like I think we are kind of going back and forth with like what like rhythmical sound and more like ambient sound, and I think this is something we have to explore more. And I want to like connect to the sensors, so like not an instrument, but you just like touch something or like move something and make sound. I think it becomes more
yeah.
performative. But I also don't want to be making instruments, because then when you make an instrument, you have to master the instrument, and that's like a bit different to me.
No, but no. That's, I don't agree with you, because then I think that you can make the instrument, and then I think what I could see is like in a setup that the one that you guys are working. There's so many other things that,
Yeah.
I mean, just, I guess you just have to have common sense that if it's something that is just doing some weird noise and you don't control completely, then just don't use it to hide. But but for the rest, I think since you are more in an explorative place, I think you should just explore.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things that I read also from this book that I mean, I see it like in our practice, we have done so many of the propositions that they did here, but we did it just by, I don't know, it just came naturally. Like, for instance, like one of the things that they talk is about timing. So even though they are really crazy in what they do and what's so not, they say like to define a time frame was very important, and also define a time frame where to talk or when to give some signals. I mean, like often when I read, then I see like there are so many similitudes and things that we have developed. That's so what I'm trying to say from here is like, I don't know how you guys are working with Fleur, but the way my experience with you, I think that we developed so much agreements, like silence agreements, that now that I'm reading, I'm like, wow, but basically we just agree so many times in this and this.
Like implicit.
Implicit, that exactly, that's why it became so difficult to share with somebody else, because there was so much respect, that basically we didn't have to care because we respect so much.
Right.
So yeah, anyway, yeah, so but anyway, so I'm taking this, but some things from this book that I will take for sure with me and to try with you guys.
Oh yeah,
that would be super cool.
Exciting.
Yes. Okay,
so
maybe just close
thank
here.
You for watching. And yeah, please like the video, subscribe to the channel. I haven't said, well, I say it once in a while. So thank you for watching.